And good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining another ATS University. My name is Zach Allison. I'm the ATS National Accounts Manager with our market development team, helping all the engineers and architects across North America set up their accounts, get up their firm's masters, and of course, providing product lunch and learns like the topic that we're going to be going over today. If this is your first time attending ATS University, thank you for joining us. We have been running a near weekly series since the 4 years ago when the entire world went virtual for a bit, and we've just kept it going because we've had great attendance and a lot of great feedback from engineers as they try to get their certificates of attendance and all their professional education credits. So of course we do send out a certificate of attendance after the session. We host some that are full approved ASPE or AIA CEUs. However, we also do application discussions that are a little bit more generic, and then we also do deep dives like we have today on particular products that are available on the SpecTool. If you are unfamiliar with the SpecTool at all, thank you for taking a big leap and joining us because you probably don't know what you're signing up for. But the ATS SpecTool is a free online product configuration and selection tool that, for example, with the PTAC unit would allow you to configure all the different options within a product, get the updated model number, and then beyond just getting that information digitally, you also get written specs, manufacturer specs, submissions, schedules, Revit files, whole everything you need to put together your project package. And of course, we'll show you how you can find that later on today. But for now, we are going to pass it over to Jeremy to give us a big deep dive on the FirstCo products that are available on the SpecTool. Thanks for joining us again, Jeremy.
Of course. Thanks for having me. It's always great to get a chance to reach out and go over these products. First Company is a very specialized product line. They don't play in that everyday residential furnace and air conditioner market, but they do. They know exactly where their niche is, and they've done very, very well over the last 6 decades. They've been in business. So we're going to go through a quick little history where you may have seen First Company before, and then we'll dive right into some of the new exciting products that are driving a ton of specs these days and really making an impact this year on new builds. So First Company is located in Dallas, Texas, founded in 1966. They have stuck their market right into that multi-family residential and commercial fan coil, air handler, and PTAC systems, where everybody, all the Asian brands are making those under window PTACs for hotel rooms. These operate more like they're ducted systems, so they're able to do an entire space or home, multiple floors, and they are more widely used in these spaces where you can be more customizable with what you need. First Company has been doing this for 60 years. You have certainly seen their products out in the market. They make what I've boiled down on the SpecTool to 6 unique product categories, expanded out with all the options and accessories available. It works out to be around a 5,000 line product file. So, and often you'll see versions of these products that are made by other companies that are most likely actually made by First Company. So certainly Trane is a great partner of First Company for some of these products. You've seen Daikin units that look exactly like these originally were made by First Company, and these cabinet styles, very common as well. Heating types across all of what First Company does is hydronic, electric, and electric with heat pump. Now, all their compressor bearing units that are operating in heat pump are low ambient certified. And then for cooling, you can do direct expansion cooling for either the refrigeration PTAC systems or chilled water, of course. For condo and multi-unit residential.
If you just switch slides, we're still seeing
sorry. Why is this not working? Let me try this again. There we go.
There we go. Looking good now.
Okay, so yeah, I'm not going to jump back. We want to keep moving forward here, but their head office is in Dallas, Texas. Everything is built right there in Dallas and shipped around North America. These are the standard products that you'd see out in the market. Very standard air handlers and fan coils that you would see out. And like I said, often rebranded with other companies. Let's do it again. It's doing it again, sorry. Why are you not working?
Yeah,
Sorry,
what's moving? Now it seems frozen again.
it is. It's not syncing up with my oh, sorry, 1 second. That's what I did. My apologies. I just got to share.
It's all good. Technical glitches happen occasionally.
Yes. No, it's still not sharing. It's sharing the right screen, but it's not following the. Jeez, I don't know what the heck is happening here.
Are you doing like the 2 screen setup, or do you just have the single screen?
I do, but it's not Zach. So from these standard air handlers and fan coils, one thing that First Company has been known for years is through the wall condensers. So very popular through the 80s and 90s, less so today. We still do a few projects with these here and there. These condenser units sit in a wall sleeve, and the entire section is a wall penetration through where this is exposed to the exterior of the building. And that's how the condenser is able to get the fresh air from outside. And then these are factory or field installed with line sets, and then a typical fan coil could be above the laundry section or on top of the water heater to be tucked away in a closet. Blower consoles, especially in ICI, these are very, very common systems, and First Company is one of their core products for decades. Large commercial air handlers. So this is where First Company does the most amount of business inside the GTA, and where all of the vertical fan coil manufacturers are willing to go direct from developer or manufacturer straight to developer. Those amenity spaces, the lobby, the gym, the conference centers. This is where First Company really shines. Is customized 2-4 pipe air handlers in high vertical or horizontal configurations, ECM motors 2 up to 20 tons. So these systems are customizable by the factory to exactly what your requirements would be. So PTACs are the biggest growth factor for First Company. The Eco Series here in the middle, they have been in Ontario for over 30 years, and we do a pretty healthy replacement business here in town. The FirstPack series, which we'll talk about a little bit at the end, is a competitor to that Magic Pack, Napoleon Condo Pack sized unit and sleeve, modular, high efficiency gas heat, electric heat, and electric heat with heat pump backup. And the real star of the show today is this Fresh Pack with integral ERV. So heating, cooling, and fresh air all built into one unit. And that is really the big game changer that FirstCo is bringing out, brought out a few years ago. The advantages of packaged units is the cost savings, right? These units are factory built. There's very little startup to do. There's very little that can go wrong. There's almost nothing that the installer could do to cause a problem that would affect its operation, right? When these units get installed, they've been factory tested, shipped, slid into the sleeve. And if there's anything that's wrong with them, it's up to the manufacturer to really get them up to speed. There's not a lot for the contractor to do. They're critically charged with refrigerant from the factory. So there's no adding, there's no line sets to run. There's no, potential bulkheads and things like that these have to be dealt with. And the big thing for some of these buildings is there's no massive condensers where you have to lose balcony space to put a condenser on in a living space, and they are significantly quieter. And then when we bring in that from the Eco Series, we bring in the Fresh Pack, the built-in ERV. Now we've got less wall penetrations. We don't need to run the exhaust and the intake of the ERV to their own separate wall boxes. They can all be done internally to the unit. And just central to the room. These units are designed to be as thin and tall as possible to keep small closets and still make them accessible to service and install. So when installed, this is a very typical installation. This is a access panel with the return air built right in. This access panel is manufactured by FirstCo and can be added as an accessory. Oftentimes, a standard closet door is used as well, and the unit's tucked away right into the closet. In this middle picture, they've chosen to actually duct the supply duct all the way through the house. So each bedroom, bathroom is getting their own supply duct. Whereas obviously in this first picture, they're just using the closet as it's with short duct and short supply. In this picture, the return air is on the side of the unit, but more often in Ontario, what we're seeing is they're using the bulkhead around the supply duct as a return chase and being able to put the return ducts back into the bedrooms where we want them further away from the unit. Obviously, it helps with the comfort level of getting the return air further away from the unit. It also does help with wind noise to keep them quiet. Closer up of the unit in its closet, this is actually a pretty generous installation. We only need 3 inches from the side of the unit. So this closet could actually have been smaller and still the unit be accessible for cooling.
Yeah, that's kind of leading to my main question, which I think is going to be brought up here. Every time that we're doing a lunch and learn with a firm or discussing this product, the question is always, what is the minimum clearance or what is the minimum size of the pumps here, right?
So they have always done 2 different sleeves, and the rear install, which is what we're looking at in all 3 of these pictures, are what we call a rear install. So actually this one looks like it may be a side install. Oh no, it can't be. Yeah, all 3 are rear installed. And what that means is the sleeve that the unit sits in, the unit pushes directly into the sleeve, straight on. In a side install, you would have to put the unit up onto the sleeve, turn it, and then push it in sideways, which in this case of the third, this filter section would be facing right up against this wall. That's still okay. There is enough clearance to do that, but they can be harder to service because one side becomes less accessible on the far side. But yeah, the service clearances are quite tight for these units. So as these sleeves, as the building goes, once the structure of the building goes up, either if it's a concrete fabricated building or if it's being wood framed, the size of the sleeve is left as an opening in the side of the building. Once the building structure is up, the sleeves are shipped out, and usually the general contractor are the ones that install the sleeves because they need to be secured to the structure of the building and then sealed. Once that's the case, they come with a cardboard block off, so there's no air and wind getting in, and then it's done for that period. Then the interior work can be done, framing, insulation, and drywall. After the drywall is done, then the unit can be pushed into the sleeve and commissioned. The sleeve itself does provide a weather-tight seal against water and wind infiltration. It also supports the weight of the unit. The way this sleeve is designed is there is a drain right in the bottom of the sleeve that catches any condensation coming from the air conditioning system, and it's drained away from below. And you can see the drain is a 3/4 MIP fitting on the bottom. If any weather was to get in past the louver, which we'll see a picture of the louver coming up, it then drains back away outside. So if there's no effect of water and rain or snow getting past the condenser where it would get into this drain section here, but if this drain was to ever be plugged, the sleeve is designed to overflow water outside the building before it would flow inside the building. So often in a service situation, one of the first things we train our contractors to do is take a quick walk around the building. You'll see some pictures of what the louvers look like, but you can see if there's a drain plug from outside the building, just from water that could be trickling down. And those are always the ones you want to catch ahead of time. So the wall sleeves come for the fresh pack. The fresh air ports for the ERV are vented right into the sleeve. This is a sided port sleeve. These are not common. It does make the closet larger, but this kind of gives you a picture of how the fresh air works. The bottom section of the sleeve through here is the fresh air getting pulled by the condenser fan motor, pulled in, it moves through the condenser and then pushed out through the top section. So by using that condenser fan motor, we can use this sleeve as a concentric vent kit, and it is approved as a concentric kit like this. So the intake and exhaust for the ERV doesn't need to be 6 or 10 feet apart, depending on the jurisdiction. More typical are these top fresh air ports, much more compact, keep the closet small, and they're just a matter of ducting a 4-inch or 5-inch ERV duct right up on top of the unit. And typical insulated flex duct is appropriate. So the louvers are part of the system. They're installed from inside the building. So regardless of how high the building is, the sleeve actually, or the louver goes through the sleeve and then is secured to the sleeve from inside. So you don't need a lift, or you don't need anybody hanging from the side of the building to put the grill on. Grill goes on first, and then the unit gets pushed into the sleeve afterwards and connected. It is an opposite deflection grill so that the condenser fan is not recirculating air, and it's properly vented to get fresh air in. Closet sizing, 3 inches on the side and only 3 inches in front, because your access door is right there. So once you open the door, you get the 30-inch clearance that you need to actually service the unit, but the closets can be quite tight. In the case of the fresh pack with the ERV built in, we do ask for 6 inches on the side. There is one fresh air vent on the side of the unit that we ask for 6 inches, but even if I do many of these buildings where the interior of the closet is unfinished and there's space gained there, it doesn't need to be too big. So these are some examples of the fresh pack units installed. First Company is aligned with Sherwin-Williams, so they will custom color any louvers at the factory to a Sherwin-Williams color code. And you can see this tricorn black is very popular. It really disappears into a black background of the building, but they can match any color that they see. So the Eco Series, which is the units without the fresh air option, they come in electric, heat pump with electric, and electric cooling with hydronic heat. There is a natural gas version that's coming. It's not quite here yet, but it will be ready probably next year. This ECW in Ontario, ECWs have been the primary PTAC unit that we've done for 30 years. We are certainly seeing more of the heat pump versions coming in, but typically if they're going to move from hydronic to heat pump, they're going to add that fresh air ERV in it as well. And that's the fresh pack. So the fresh pack is 3/4 ton all the way up to 2.5 tons. So one unit ducted can do, a full townhouse, or each quad could get its own, or we do through the ATS SpecTool, we have quoted 40-story buildings where each unit has its own control. Up to 10 kilowatts of electric heat, up to almost 50 thousands of hydronic heat, and 12 EER 3.5 COP on the heat pump. Low ambient heat pump down to minus 15 degrees Fahrenheit. The ERV features, so all built into one. There is a core built in that does need to be cleaned, just like the rest of the unit. But it's all, you have the option of the ERV return, the stale air coming from the house. It can be left open and just take from a sample of air from the space around the unit, because the space around the unit is part of the return air of the system. Or it can be ducted back to each bathroom, laundry room, and kitchen, like you would a typically fully ducted ERV system. And exhaust intake go straight down onto the sleeve and save yourself 2 wall boxes and 2 more wall penetrations. Optional sensors. So the system is set up to run with a standard thermostat with the ASHRAE ventilation program built in. So it's only, this system works as a single stage heating, single stage cooling, and single stage fresh air with that ASHRAE ventilation program. Optional additional sensors are humidity sensing and carbon dioxide sensors as well. Ducting options. So ducted exhaust air would go out to the sleeve. Ducted fresh air would also come from the sleeve. Return air could be left open and just pulling from the room, like I said, or it could be ducted back through the space. And then the fresh air supply can be ducted back into specific areas, or it can be ducted right back into the ductwork as well. This picture here gives a good example of how this sleeve operates. The fresh air is pulled from a separated section and pulled up through a snorkel on the side. And then the exhaust air to the sleeve is pushed down here, where the condenser fan motor then forces it out away from the building. It's all built into the sleeve. And the side is much less popular. You can see the sleeve, or the closet does have to get quite a bit bigger. ERV wiring, like I said, standard single stage heating cooling. If you have a heat pump and you wanted to run, like the electric backup could be run as a second stage, or it could be ran internally, like switched internally in the unit. And these are the optional sensors that can be added to the system. Each building or each project that we do with these, there is a Wi-Fi stick that programs each unit. It comes with the project, and you only need one for the whole building. And so as part of startup, the contractor will plug this into the circuit board of the unit, and it programs the unit in the field. Last on the list of the PTACs is the First Pack. This is actually an even newer product than the Fresh Pack, but it's meant mostly for the retrofit market. Now, with that said, we are still seeing lots of buildings. I'm sure you're still getting asked for gas heating in some of these buildings. It's still a very popular thing, especially down the London, Windsor area of Ontario. And so they brought these units forward to compete in that market. They are the same footprint as the competition of Magic Pack and Napoleon Condo Pack, and are, for all intents and purposes, pretty direct copies to play in that market. They do have of course, they do have an 80% gas version that came out first, which we can't use here. But we can, if somebody is using an 80% efficient gas Magic Pack now, we can slide in the high efficiency version into the same existing sleeve and just change the grill. The sleeve on these is a little less intricate. It basically just holds the weight of the unit. It doesn't do any of the condensate or weather protection that the fresh packs do. And on the high efficiency gas version, the exhaust is actually ported out through the architectural louver. And again, these can be factory painted to whatever Sherwin-Williams color the architect or designer has chosen. And because we, working in cold climates, we do need to take some extra precautions whenever we're working with condensing furnaces or with low ambient heat pumps. And they have taken extra precaution in both the first pack units and the fresh pack units with extra insulation to protect and in this case, there's actual heaters built into this unit to keep the condensate from freezing. This cutaway is a good picture of how the PTACs actually operate, because the compressor section and the fan, this grill is the only thing actually protecting or separating the airflow. So this section of the unit is actually exterior to the building. So we've had great success with these units. We even though it is a compressor bearing unit inside the living space, it is very well insulated. We never get a question of sound issues coming from these units, and they've done an excellent job of providing insulation and protection from these units to make sure there's no frosting or condensate building up. And that's one of the keys to, and one of the reasons that it's important to that open return air around the unit is it maintains an airflow from the return that keeps any moisture from building up on a cold surface. And that's it. That's the quick but deep dive into these fresh pack PTACs. Happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Yeah, I think one of the interesting things for me has been the variety of applications that you see these PTAC units go in. Like you mentioned, from townhomes and those strip type facilities all the way to 40-story towers we've done, even larger. There's a lot of different applications.
Yeah, we're finishing up a project in the next couple of months at the University of Windsor, built a new student residence with 250 of these units. There are multiple towers going up in around the London area with these units. And then there's always the oddballs. We have a funeral home in Rockwood that decided to go this way. They're very versatile. All we need is an outside wall, and then everything else is done, right? You can just check it off the list. I've got heating, cooling, and ventilation for the space. And for the installers, and one of the big things that we work with as a distributor of First Company is working with the contractors so that they understand what their role is in these units, because it's a big shift away from having to pipe an entire building or having to add the ERV and hanging a separate piece of equipment. There's very little labor to these units. You get the sleeves, usually the general contractor is the one who installs the sleeve. All the contractor has to do, especially in the case of a heat pump, is push the unit into the sleeve, make sure it's seated properly, do the drain, the thermostat, a small amount of ductwork typically. And then if they're not the electrician, they're done. The electrician comes in to wire it, and that's it. So we're working with the contractors to help them understand what their labor rates should reflect in these units. Because if they're going to copy and paste a project that they did last year with vertical fan coils, where they had to do all the piping and the risers and all they're going to be priced way out and they're never going to win. They're just going to end up being, too high. So there's education on both sides because these products are a drastic change. But really, it's first company stepping up to take ownership of that unit. If there's something that goes wrong, they're there to step up and do it. And typically, Mark Supply, I'm the technical support and training manager here as well. I'm usually or somebody on my team is there going out to site to make sure that these issues are dealt with quickly. And Mark Supply is the only stocking distributor of First Company in Ontario. So we stock the parts, we stock extra sleeves, we stock extra units, because the contractor relationship especially is extremely important to us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and like you mentioned, you're heading out to tons of different sites, like you talked about, and
Yep.
Again, just the breadth of application. The one application that was jumping to mind for me was kind of the more multi-use, like the newer design condos. Although apartments have been a big use of these, but having that combination of PTAC unit in the suite, and then for all the amenity spaces, you also have those FirstCo air handlers.
Yeah, absolutely. And those, especially those 2 to 20 ton, the big units, we just, we take everything, we work with the engineers and architects to get all the information that we can, and then we'll get that directly back to the First Company engineers to make sure that they're building the unit to and they can provide all the necessary documentation to show that the unit is going to do what we need it to do. And First Company is great at that. They've really focused themselves in on that level of support.
And we'll show the engineers how they can get a good starting point on their basis of design for those air handlers or the PTAC units in just a second when I jump over to the SpecTool. But a couple of questions that come in talking about different applications. So one, how about using these in a passive house construction? Has that come up?
So I'm a big fan of passive house, but I consider it to be the holy grail, like the true passive house. It's the holy grail of heating and air conditioning, right? So I think the next iteration will be closer, but we're still adding heat, right? It isn't. We are still heating and cooling, so it's much closer because we have that ERV that's integrated into the system. And whenever that compressor is running, we're taking that heat too, and all the heat from the motors. We're trying to use as much as we can. It's as close as we have right now. I've only seen kind of one other product that has a similar idea to it, but it's a tiny little ERV system, and it can only do up to 9,000 BTUs or something. It's very, very local. But yeah, the next step is an inverter drive compressor that we expect to see early in 2025, and that will dramatically bring down our amperage requirements for the system. And they don't, as it stands right now, make a heat pump with a hydronic option. But no, understanding how these units work, taking the hydronic coil from the Eco Series unit and putting on a fresh pack, the unit doesn't know the difference. It's just a matter of turning the water on. So it wouldn't be a different certification. It would just be a field installed accessory, easily done. So yeah, we're pretty close. I think we're closer than most on passive.
Good question. One of the other applications that got brought up, we were talking about the University of Windsor student residence, but question coming in asking about what is the maximum fresh air that a 1200 CFM unit, 3-ton, can supply. They're thinking about using these units for a typical classroom.
So the classrooms, so I don't know that off the top of my head. I can certainly, let me see.
I might be able to pull it up when I do the demo later.
Yeah.
You might be able to pull
yes.
out the spec
there is an ERV fan data thing here. I'll pull that up while you're doing it, and maybe I'll readdress that just before we finish off. I've got that. Yeah.
And then last question before we jump over the demo side. looks like it's super easy to service. Is it just pull out and replace? Or is there, kind of a, like, obviously there looks like there's filters and things like that that need to be serviced over years and maintained. But when they need to replace it, is it just a pull out and then put in the new one into the wall sleeve?
So yes, it is that simple. Replacing is the easiest thing to it, because you can from straight on from the unit. Obviously, you can change the filter. You can get up to all the electrical components. You can replace the compressor from straight in, and you can get to the condenser. Like, there's a lot you can get to from there. If you needed to get to the blower motor, for instance, that's in a side access. So in that case, it may be easier to actually pull the unit out into the living space and then make your repair and then shove it back in. Um, and that's typically how they do it. We're doing we just shipped a big project up to Thunder Bay, where there's a Hyatt hotel being built up there. And in speaking with the maintenance team from Hyatt corporate office, they remove them every year and clean them. And then that's just part of their routine, is to, because they want to be thorough. They want to get the units to last as long as they can. So um, they are very easily in and out of the sleeve. But most of any service work you'd really need to do, especially on small, like, a contactor or a capacitor fails, that's right in the front door. Easy stuff. You're in and out in 15 minutes to replace an easy part like that. If you have a serious refrigeration failure, then we also, in some of these buildings, we will work with the company to provide an extra unit in some cases, especially if they're in a far off location, or there's a lot of different reasons. But in that case, we would encourage them to basically just take the unit out. In the case of a hotel, perfect example, the hotel owns all the units. So taking one out and bringing it back to the maintenance area, and then sliding a new one in, getting that hotel back up and running, and getting it rented where they can replace or fix the unit in the maintenance area, perfect. That's the best way to do it. If it's a condo situation where it's an owned unit, then the units are so new, we haven't had failures yet. We expect to at some point, but certainly we haven't seen any major issues with them yet. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
minimizing the downtime is always the number one aspect
absolutely.
there, right? All right, well, I'll let you keep an eye and see if any additional questions come in.
Sure.
I'll jump into a bit of a SpecTool demo here, because I saw there's a bunch of names that looks like they're kind of first time joining ATS. So if this is your first time, thanks again for trying this out. Hopefully you'll learn something so far, and hopefully we can show you something that might even make your life a little bit easier. That's kind of the general premise of ATS, is amalgamating product from various manufacturers, getting all the data actually up to date and into a system that makes it easy for you to, either size a particular pump, size a particular product, configure a selection, or put together all the various products that maybe build a barrier-free lab or something like that. And at the end of the day, the goal is to get formats like this, our PTAC submittal unit, where it shows the marked off selections that you've made along the way. We have manufacturer spec sheet version as well that has a little bit more detailed information to it. And this is true for everything from our PTAC units to our water heaters to our labs, backflow, pumps, whatever it is you have, whatever it is you're configuring and selecting. We help you configure and select, get the approved updated model number, verbiage that aligns with that product you've selected, not just a general spec that you can then copy and paste into your own internal documentation. Or if you're doing like a schedule in Excel, then we have that, of course, as well. All of this is organized within your account. You have a firm-based account for the most part. Individuals can sign up. They'll be placed into their firm so that they can share projects with their colleagues. This is all pre and paid for by the manufacturers. The usage of the tool is free for architects and engineers, design build contractors. If at the end of the day you want to go view any of our previously recorded ATS universities, like I just brought on a new person onto our market development team. They've been living in this ATS recorded webinar section, where we've got all sorts of different sessions that we've done similar to today that covers either a product in depth, like how to size submersible pumps, how to size and select your hydronic systems, to what are the barrier-free products or appropriate products for like high school, and of course the last PTAC presentation that we did back in April. All sorts of various presentations, whether it be system focused, product focused, or application focused. That's really our general types of discussions that ATS has. We also have product recommendations based on application type. You'll see the application focus is a long running thread within ATS, because once you get logged in, you can see I'm in my demo engineer account here. This is my dashboard, lets me see my project list. Anytime you create a project, we do ask it that you put in a location. The location ties to a building code, ties to a rule engine within our database. So if you're selecting for Ontario, you'll get the Ontario building code. If you're building in New York, you'll get the New York building code. Alberta, you'll get ABC, et cetera, et cetera. And the product recommendations are going to change based on location and on the building type. So a residential condo is going to need different products than an office building, which needs different products than a high school. All of that, again, is built into our rules engine, built into the recommendations by application. Now we've added a new feature, our product catalog, which is our ungated version of the SpecTool. It allows you to just jump straight to the category page and start configuring your product. This is great if you're trying to review the types of options you have available. Lets you get directly into products and then start configuring. But if you want to add it to something, you'll either need to create a project quick spec or master. I'll go jump back to the dashboard really quick. We do have our quick action tab here that shows you can create a project quick spec or master. I'll go from size large to small. If you are doing repeat work, we talked a lot about condos here. If you're doing repeat work with a condo, you probably have an internal master. Maybe you're working with a Daniels or whoever corporation. You probably have a standard set of selections you're making for them. ATS is great at hosting that master, making sure it's constantly updated. So if a manufacturer changes a model number tomorrow, the Jeremy and the FirstCo team, they tell us, hey, we're going to be changing it from the Eco Pack to the Eco 2. We will update that model number, notify you, hey, there's been a discontinuance on the product in your master, help you select the new one. And then beyond that, you have the easiest version of creating a new project. We have a drag and drop system that will allow you to drag from your constantly updated master to a new project. So instead of using your old project internally that has last year's model number info, 5 years ago, you worked on the last project that's similar for this owner group, and everything's out of date, and you've got to copy, update, move and everything around, that's where this comes in. Let us help you keep it up to date. I'll show you how you can drag and drop into a new project versus a quick spec. Project quick spec difference. Quick spec you see here, all you need is the title. You put in PTAC or anything like that, jump into that project creation, and jump into the category selection. Whereas our project, we are looking for a little bit more info, project name, location so that we can apply the correct rule engine, bid date so that we know whether or not the project is current or not for our updates. If we select, Christmas Day this year, December 25th, 2024, on Boxing Day, you're not going to get the same updates. We're going to tell you, hey, product's been updated, but we're not going to automatically reselect it for you. Same with the application. Applications required so we can help make the project recommendations. So you can see I've already created a bunch of, this is our demo accounts. We've got a ton of different masters in here. You can have masters based on application type. You can have masters based on types of product. really comes down to you and how you choose to use the system. I personally love having various application types and maybe owners within an application. So again, you might have condo owner A that prefers a 4-inch center set faucet and they prefer the base, air handler unit. And you might have condo B that prefers a really nice faucet, high-end fixtures. They've got an amenity area that needs an air handler. They've got the PTAC with ERV, all the bells and whistles. You can have different masters for each of them. The great thing about masters, again, let me jump back to my project here. You can see I've put in a couple of standard products here. If we want to add, we can add two ways. We can go to create new drawing, which takes us back to the categories page, or we can add from our masters and templates. So again, if I have the master set up, all I can do is, let's say we're doing condo amenity space. We're going to need a sink. We're going to need a bar sink. Maybe we have a bathroom as well. And then you can see we've got a base air handler in here. We've got base floor drains. Maybe you need your access doors. If there's a dishwasher, you might need a dishwasher grease interceptor. We can check these boxes and just drag these over. And now from our master, from our approved selections, even your EIT that started last week can use your approved selections for this owner group and drag and drop them in to get an updated package. And then you can get all those same formats that we showed you before just by checking the boxes, hit download, and select your types of formats you want. Now, if you need to make changes to any of these, maybe there's a, let's go to that air handler unit. Maybe this is our base model and we want to configure this to our actual size. You can see these go, again, we talked about it during the demo. These go up to 25 tons. These are big boy units. If you want to learn more about it, you've got the spec sheet info here. All of the spec sheets from all of our manufacturers are embedded into the system so you can review any of the product in more detail. If you needed to see the pump performance curve, if you need to see the water heater recovery, if you need to see the size of the different tonnage versions, we can go take a look, make sure the dimensions fit our space, make sure that it does have the performance that we're looking for, and then it'll help you understand how the nomenclature works and how you're configuring it. So I don't know, do you want to walk through a selection of this one, Jeremy, or do we want to walk through more of the PTAC side?
This one specifically is very engineer focused and customizable. So let's do the PTAC. It's more straightforward.
Perfect. So let's just go back to our project, and then I'm going to hit that same plus button. I'm going to go create new drawing. I'll show you the other way. Here we've got our categories, and you can see I've pinned some of my favorite categories here. So if I'm using these all the time, then I can just pin the top here and say, yep, I use ACVs. I got my air handlers, my PTACs, my backflow, water filters, water heaters, sinks, whatever it is you're looking for. We'll jump into our PTAC category. And you can see we've got our Eco Series PTAC here. So this is where it's really going to walk you through, kind of left to right, top to bottom, the questions that you need to be thinking about and asking yourself as you're selecting these products. First, do you want the Eco Series? Do you want that integral ERV? Just looking for the first pack unit? What type of the primary heat are you using? Are you doing that hydronic system? Gas like we talked about, or the electric? Do you need the secondary heat pump? All those different questions. So I don't know. Do you want to walk through maybe let's do that student residence. What were they putting into typical student residence? Do you think they're going to go Eco, ERV, or first pack?
So in Canada, if they're taking any sort in a student residence, if they're taking any sort of federal grant money, they're going heat pump, and they're going to want to go as efficient as they can. So yeah, let's do the fresh pack.
Fresh pack with our integral ERV. We know we want the secondary heat pump and our electric heat, right? So you can see as we're selecting options, some options are getting grayed out. That's because it's not available in, say, the 2.5 ton BTU version. So we can go up to 2.0 in this, or the 1.5. Anything that's not appropriate is not going to be available. So like our coil rows is not applicable to this selection's being grayed out. What do we want for electric heat capacity? Do you think like a 6 kilowatt or 10?
Uh, what size did we go to for tonnage? 1.5. Yeah, I'd say 5.
Yeah, I just took the middle one, but
Yeah,
really comes down to, I guess, what size space they have. So now we've
pretty much.
selected all of our options, our model number updates, descriptions updated, and then we can hit add product. If there is other products that tied into this, then we would have them here as what we call a fixture chain. But this is a standalone unit. We don't need to submit any accessories. We are good to go. So we can hit add next drawing. You could add a second version. Maybe you want to put two budget options together, anything like that. You could do so here as well. We can jump back to the project here again. You can see the last one I added is here at the bottom. I can add in my titles, as you can see above, for all the other ones. So we can call this PTAC, 2. We can download the entire project. We can download just a single unit. We could download multiple. However you want to do it is kind of up to you. If you want to download the entire product group, we can do so here. Of course, we can add different product groups. I use this a lot when I'm doing revisions. So let's run through an example. Say we're trying to do we've had our meeting with our owner group. They've come back, told us, hey, we actually need 2 tons. You can either edit it here, or I will copy it into a new product group so that I have an updated version counting the iterations of my revisions. But for now, let's just download we'll download the 2 products. We can check the box for our submittal format. That's the one that shows the checked off boxes like we talked about. Our schedule in Excel, we have options for some of these downloads as well, where you can get all caps, lowercase. You can get our long spec with our page formatting or not. Sometimes it's easier for people to copy without the page formatting. Really, that comes down to preference. Yeah, we have long spec or short spec, so a little bit more detailed verbiage, a little bit shorter verbiage. We have the manufacturer spec sheet. We have the Revit files. We have a CSI 3-part spec. If you are in the US, this is going to align with the majority of the US written spec formatting. It's description first and then model name and number below. Really, again, coming down to preference. So we can generate all those documents. Those put it into a zip folder just like I showed earlier. So we could show that, and this will be our CSI format that I was mentioning before. Pull this up in Word. CSI 3-part spec format, written description above, FirstCo as your basis of design. If you need to copy and paste this into your own internal written documentation, you can do so. If you need to make edits, you can do so. Everything's open and editable. So you put in approved, alternate, whichever other brands you're looking at. We understand we're not looking to hard spec. We're just looking to provide our manufacturer's information in the most easily accessible format possible. If we can improve the quality of the written spec, then the industry as a whole does better. The reps are happier, the wholesalers are happier, the manufacturers are happier, and the engineers and owner groups are happier because they're getting what they want. So that's really our goal here, is just provide the information, as many easily accessible formats as possible, while making it as quick and easy as possible to customize and configure your selections. Trying to get away from the day and age of just saying, put in a PTAC unit, 2 tons. Let's actually try to get something a little bit up to date, a little bit more accurate, and help the industry that way. So I don't see any final questions coming in. We can pause for a second if anyone does have any questions on either the SpecTool or on the FirstCo product line. I guess for now, a thank you, Jeremy. That was always informative, as always. I learn something new every time you do the presentation for us. So I appreciate you taking the time to present. Thank you to all those that attended. Hopefully you guys also took something away from the presentation, whether it be from the product side or from the SpecTool side. A lot of people have not seen the new masters system. So if you need help getting your masters set up on the system, it can be time intensive to get that owner specific master up on the ATS system. That is where our spec team is here to help. That's where my market development team is here to help. We will work with you on helping you get the appropriate selections up on the system as fast as possible so that you can just drag and drop and make your life easy. I use the drag and drop every day, and it's saving me so much time. I love it. But without any further ado, if you are down at ASPE, I hope to see you there. If you are with us next week, then we'll certainly see you then. And of course, we'll have our certificates of attendance sent out on Friday. Thank you for your time. We'll see you again soon. Bye.